gender is not real. I said there were so many cultures that did not adhere to a
Yep.
gender binary prior to being colonized. My own is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We did not have a gender binary prior to being colonized and before Christianity and Mormonism and Catholicism were brought to my people. So before that, prior to that, we didn't adhere to anything like that.
And okay, so that was Drew Afualo. I think I'm saying her name right. She is Samoan. And so she makes this claim that trans activists commonly make, which is that the gender binary is a social construction that was invented by Western European colonialism, essentially, such that prior to contact with these Europeans, all these indigenous societies, the gender binary didn't exist to some degree or another. So to claim, and what is the gender binary? Let's remind ourselves: the gender binary is the claim that there are only two genders, male and female. So they're saying that prior to contact with the Europeans, there's the like gender binary did not exist. So there's like these multiple um there's more than one, there's more than two genders, essentially, is the claim. So let's actually look at this website here, which is about the Samoan gender roles. So there's this concept in Samoa called the Fa'afafine and the Fa'afatamas. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But the third and fourth genders of Fa'afafine and Fa'afatama have always existed within Samoan society. When translated literally, they mean in the manner of woman and in the manner of man. These genders are fluid and move between the traditional world of men and women. Fa'afafines and Fa'afatamas have specific roles in Samoan society in an interesting contrast to transgenderism in Western society, which is yet to be widely accepted. Have there always been four genders in Samoan culture? The recognition of these genders is not a recent occurrence. Pre-Christian Samoans accepted and acknowledged that every individual, man or woman, had a separate role in society. Hence, it is still acceptable for a male child to be feminine, for example. Samoan boys who displayed marked effeminate behavior in childhood are recognized to be fa'afafines and fully accepted within their families and society. In the same way, girls who exhibit more masculine tendencies are accepted as fa'afatamas. These genders tend to care for the elderly in society and educate people about sex, which is a taboo subject for men and women to discuss in public. Okay, so the claim is that this is somehow proof that the gender binary did not exist in Samoan society prior to exposure to Europeans. But is that actually true? Is that the best way to interpret that? And I don't think so, because remember what it said. It said that the Fa'afafine are boys who act feminine, and the Fa'afatamas are girls who act masculine. You still have just girls and boys. You just have feminine boys and you have masculine girls, but there's still just two sexes. There's boys and there's girls. There's males and there's females. There's feminine males and there's masculine females. That is still that is still fitting within the gender binary, because the gender binary is a claim that there are only two sexes, male and female. Why? Because there are only two types of gametes. There's sperm and there's egg. And that constitutes the basis around which we organize our reproduction as a species. Just like every other animal species, you have males and they have females. And sex, reproduction, is about sperm and egg coming together to form a baby. That is what reproduction and evolution is all about. That is what it means when we talk about sex. This is about sperm and egg coming together to form a new entity. And there's not a third type of gamete. So in evolutionary biological terms, we say that there are two sexes. So there are males and there are females. And there are some exceptions. 0.001% of the population shows a gonadal tissue indicative of having both the testes and the ova tissue. But usually in those cases, it's never the case that the testes and the ova are both functioning to produce viable sperm and egg. It's usually one or the other. So, and really, there's really just like two sexes and all this intersex stuff, disorders of sexual development, there are aberrations within the male and the female pathway, the developmental pathway, because there's really two developmental pathways you can go down. You can go down the male pathway or the female pathway. And once you go down that male female pathway, yes, there's going to be a variety of type of behaviors that those people display. For example, if you are a homosexual male, you're more likely to be feminine. And in the Samoan culture, they don't have a concept of a homosexual male. It's or the distinction between a homosexual and a trans-identified person. You often just have you just have one category for gender nonconformity, where everything that's gender nonconforming for males gets lumped into the category of Fa'afafine. So what you would have a homosexual male would in the Samoan culture would be considered a Fa'afafine, but that does not mean that somehow the gender binary did not exist prior to contact with Europeans, because prior to contact with Europeans, the only way that Samoans ever reproduced successfully was having a male and a female get together and have a baby. And so this whole idea that, oh, in indigenous cultures, there's like 5 genders or 6 genders or 4 genders, and that somehow proves that the gender binary is like, you know, a social construction, and there's more than 2 genders, blah, blah, blah. That is all wrong. That, like, when we say that an indigenous society has a multi-gender system such that there's more than 2 genders, that's really just a way to describe gender roles. But gender roles, having an elaborate social mechanism to put people of male or female gender into different social categories depending on the type of male or female they are, in order to basically make society go smoother, that is not the same thing as saying that the gender binary did not exist. Because what we're talking about is we have males and females, and you have some males who are very feminine and some females who are very masculine. And we want to have a society that has an appropriate response to that phenomenon of feminine males and masculine females. So when we say that an indigenous society has these elaborate multi-gender roles, it's really just a way for that society to accommodate the reality that there is gender nonconformity in males and females. But you still ultimately just have males and females, because the Fa'afafine are just feminine males and the Fa'afafine are masculine females. That's still just 2 types of things. They're just multiple categories to describe differences within the male or the female category. So this whole idea is completely wrong-headed, and it is definitely not any sort of argument or evidence or proof that the gender binary is a product of Christianity or Europeans, or somehow Europeans were the only ones to come up with this idea that there's males and females. No, even in the Samoan society, they knew very, very clearly who can give birth to a baby. It is not men who give birth to babies. So, okay, I don't know. It's just like you like see this response all the time, and it's so misleading. And they like to think it's like a gotcha or something. It's like, oh, like you're saying, you know, there's only 2 genders, blah blah blah. Like, you know, but didn't you know that indigenous societies existed? So it's just like wrong-headed. So hopefully that made sense. I just wanted to respond to this because I saw it going around like Twitter. Okay. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.